It's good, YouTube. Cardfight King here. AQUA Life Baby. You already know how it is. Alright, so we just got the new restriction list. Then we had it, like last night, like before midnight or something like that. Mick the Ghostie family and 7C's Nightcrow have been hit to 1. Bushiroad doesn't like to outright ban cards, but so they're limited to 1, less chance of seeing it, obviously. So with those 2 cards being banned, you guys have already seen a lot of the reactions on the social media accounts, Vanguardians, North American, whatever. And I've seen the reactions too, and within those reactions, I've seen a lot more selling, looking to sell, looking to trade my Nightcrow's deck, yada 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 type of posts. I personally, for me, I definitely expected to see a decline in Nightcrow's players. Once this list comes out, you start seeing those type of posts a little bit more frequently. One can only assume that the players that are trying to get rid of their Nightcrow's decks, literally hours after the ban list comes out, means that they were more or less never really committed to deck. And it's not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. No, it's just you just more or less see the true nature of the players in a sense. One can only assume, obviously, that they weren't committed, and they don't want to. The deck is still really good, but them with their reliance on Mick the Ghostie and how they valued Mick the Ghostie in terms of where Nightcrow is placed in the meta. You can see that it was really high, and then them losing, 3 copies of Mick the Ghostie in the deck, and then them trying to get out of their Nightcrow's deck, generally just means that, one, they weren't really interested. They're just interested because it's a powerful deck, and they're not willing to, see it through this restriction list. You lost just 3. All you did was lose 3 triggers, so you can just replace them with, Performing Zombie, the new Banshee stand trigger. Be like me, just put some more crits in the deck. Why not? So it's, it definitely shows, the divide between people who are, more or less committed to deck and, willing to figure out what they need to do to work around this type of restriction versus, those people who, I guess, again, I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just going based off objective analysis, is that, one can only assume that they are just more or less meta hoppers and are only playing the deck because of their reliance on how you can abuse 1 card in the deck to cheese matches away, to cheese wins and, things like that. But again, one can only assume based upon, how frequent the posts are now starting to show up, hours after the the restriction list gets announced for July 31st. Now, with this hit to Mick the Ghostie, yes, I do think that Nightcrow will take a step down in the meta, in a sense. A lot of people have her at tier 0, and I don't think it's a tier 0. It is nowhere close to what tier 0 really means. It's definitely a powerful deck, and it definitely takes some top spots. It doesn't have that many wins. In terms of actually winning, it doesn't have that many, recognizable wins in a sense. You can go look at, the Champions page and whatnot. You see more Royal Paladins, you see more Gear Chronicles, Luard, and things like that. And, Nightcrow has, Nightcrow has entered top 4, definitely has taken up a number of top 8 spots, but they haven't, secured a majority of first place. I think the only time they've really secured first place, I'm not counting ARGs, I'm looking at BCSs in a sense, was Malaysia. That's about it. But, aside from that, again, the deck consistently tops. It's a great deck. It's a good deck. And, the more you top, the more chances you have at, being able to win, obviously. Now, aside from that, I think that Luard is definitely going to step out as the best deck in the meta right now. Just, you guys know Bilal Al, Esra's, that infinite perfect guard loop combo where you get to add a PG to hand and draw, bringing out Bilal Al for free, sacking off to gain other abilities and draw. I mean, it's just, and then, the way Shadow Paladins are, just a strong, stride deck. I think that, with this list hitting July 31st, there should be no question as to what is going to definitely be the top deck in the game. That's just to me. Followed by Gears and Night Rose, I believe. I still think Night Rose is still up there. I still think it's a great deck. It's a fantastic deck. With Gears not having Hetero Hound hit like it did overseas, I think that definitely means that, they have a bit more of a defensive presence, being able to have Hetero Hound and Vainglory combo live for multiple turns. Yeah. Now, as far as now talking about Night Rose, and we'll talk about the 7C deck in a second, but for Night Rose, with this Mick the Ghostie hit, like I said, I'm probably going to just play more crits. Why not? Crit your opponent more often. Hey, they're going to be opponents, who, if you're running more crits, your opponent is going to be a little bit more scared to no guard you at 3 damage than they were previously, because it's like, well, sure, they might hit a crit, but they'll probably hit a stand trigger too. But now now, like for me, I'll be running like 11 crits in the deck. So with the 11 crits, I have a higher propensity to crit my opponent, kind of like I did with Chaos Breaker. Run 12 crits, you have a higher chance of crit. Opponents will be, will throw out more guard to guard you at 3 and 4 damage, because you're going to have a higher propensity to hit a critical trigger, in a sense, because you're running more crits, less stands. Some people are going to be running Performing Zombie so that they can call it out to the board, use it as a little Rush Rider, but be able to set up their drop zone a little bit faster pre-stride. The new Banshee stand, some people said they were going to run, where I think it's when you hollow, when it comes out from the drop, you hollow it in the turn. If it dies by hollow, banish it, draw a card, something like that, because people are used to the attack pattern style that Mick the Ghostie provided, being a stand trigger where you swing with one column, then you swing with this column. Now what you're going to look at is that especially if you're going to switch over to play more crits, it's more or less just a change in your attack patterns, a change in your attack style and how you go about doing your turns and whatnot, and your setups and things like that. So that's definitely something that's going to change, when, depending on what you choose to be a trigger lineup. Mick the Ghostie getting hit, yes, I think it was a good hit in a sense, and a very abusable card, but what it did do, realistically, is hurt Night Rose's defensive capabilities, in a sense. Night Rose being able to, go, Negro Lily pop something, bring that out, and then, give plus 10k to the Vanguard is really good. So it hurts the consistency in being able to get that type of skill off. Because now you're going to have, I know people play Chappie the Ghostie now, so they can, set them things, but then again, that's just another step that you have to say, rather than a more direct step and having more Mick the Ghostie abundant to you so you can see it more often, so you don't have to take that extra step. Now you have to take an extra step to get it in position for you to perform your combo off of. Also, so again, with Night Rose's GB2 ability, when you mill 3, usually you mill 3, and if you use ghosties or multiple Mick the Ghosties, you like mill 3 and then mill 3, the Mick the Ghostie goes back. If you only send 1 back to this, essentially you only lost 2 cards out of your deck anymore, and you can reduce that cost if if you're talking about using Night Rose's GB2 ability, depending on how many Mick the Ghosties you're sending back for whatever reason. What you also lose is the ability to sustain your deck, to be able to sustain. now that Mick the Ghostie was hit, and you only have generally one copy, if you soul charge it or damage it, then you have to, damaging it, you have to get lucky, hit a heal trigger, and be able to put it into your drop zone. Soul charging it is a bit easier because the deck soul blasts a lot, so you can soul blast it and get it in position for to do what you need to do. But because it went back to the deck to help increase your deck count, it also prevented you from decking out a little faster. Now, now you've lost 3 cards that can go back and, recycle into your deck. So now, you're going to have a little bit, just be a bit more wary about when you're milling and whatnot and getting cards out of your deck, because you're going to definitely deck out a lot faster now. I mean, I know some people play, like, we have Fatal Shade, we have Maltreat Shade that go back into the deck and things like that, but, Mick the Ghostie was Mick the Ghostie, and you just lost 3 cards. In addition to those 2, if you play Maltreat or if you play some Fatal Shade and whatnot, you lost a very easy condition card to go back into your deck to help prevent you from decking out in late game situations. So which means that you're definitely defensively you're going to be using Cannoneer a lot more to blow up cards, since you're not going to be consistently getting the 10k to your Nightcrow, especially if if you've sent it back to your deck turns prior, and you haven't chapped the Ghostie or seen it since, in a sense. But yeah, that's just a little bit about what Nightcrow is probably going to change, going to go through. As far as 7 Seas Grade 1 Rush, that deck needed to die. That deck needs to go. That deck needs to just, it's not fun to play against. It's not an enjoyable game. Obviously, for me, I got my boy Chaos Breaker, so it's not a hard matchup at all for Chaos. But for if you want to play like Thavis, Victor, things like that, Generation Break decks that are restricted by the Generation Break skill, which I think is something that also needs to be addressed, but that's for another time. You can't do anything. They sit at grade 1. The one fair thing about 7 Seas is that you sit at grade 1, so you don't even play the game and go to grade 3 to do things. You sit at grade 1, you build a field while at grade 1, essentially for free in a sense. You build a field, and you also get off multiple attacks during the battle phase. Being able to call cards from the drop zone that hit 11k Vanguards, being able to make lanes that force 10k, 15k shields, and multiple attacks from the drop zone at that, while keeping your opponent's deck vanilla from them not being able to execute any skills whatsoever. That's pretty much what 7 Seas, and to me, it's something that definitely goes against Bushiroad's marketing plan. They want to push Stride and the Stride era and things like that, but you have this deck that they have allowed to exist for, to me, too long, that has prevented opponents from actually playing the game that they want them to play. So them finally hitting it now is like, sure, but they could have hit it, they could have done something a long time ago. Now, with this hit tonight Crow, and it was necessary, unfortunately, kind of like how Urwater was hit in Gear Chronicles, and TikTok was hit as well. Unfortunately, it also really destroys proper 7 Seas, going, the grade 3 7 Seas Night Storm, I think is his name, or whatever it is. It really hurts the proper 7 Seas build, and definitely decreases their playability in a sense. Now, I haven't looked at any of their new stuff, but I do know that Nightcrow was very important for that deck, being able to sack off something, call it out, be like, a nice 7k booster. Like, you can bring out, Mick the Ghostie, Hollow, plus 10k to something, then also Mick the Ghostie getting hit too, and then you use Nightcrow's ability, sack Mick the Ghostie, get a 7k booster, Mick the Ghostie goes back into the deck, shuffle. So I think that the 7 Seas proper deck has also taken a hit, in effect, because the grade 1 rush version of that deck was so cancerous that it spread, and it's like, well, I'm sorry, but one can't exist without the other. So if one has to go, the other has to go. But yeah, that's about it, guys. this list is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how many Night Rose players are going to be playing at maybe, you know, some locals or major tournaments near you. See how many people have given up on the deck or who are interested, innovative, and, you know, want to continue to play the deck and whatnot. Glad to see 7 Seas go. I definitely want to see the backlash from 7 Seas. I definitely want to see the reaction from players who play 7 Seas Grade 1 Rush. I want to see if, you know, how they react to it, and whether they're going to try and figure something out with 7 Seas Grade 1 Rush, but, you know, to see how effective it's going to be or whatnot. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see those 7 Seas players, Grade 1 players, excuse me, react to this list, whether they're going to drop it or look for some light at the end of the tunnel. But yeah, that's it, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to join the Discord. You can probably find the Discord. It's a few videos ago. I have a permanent Discord link there as well. And yeah, it's Cardfight King, AQUA Life Baby. You already know, and I'm out.